Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone on today? Happy Tuesday to you. And I wanted to share a positive story. This is a positive story, and a lot of times there's a lot of negative stories in the media. And so I wanted to share this good, positive story, a story of reinforcement, a story of uh, that your past doesn't have to determine your future, and your past failures do not have to become your destiny. Now, these inmates, it was 20 inmates, and they actually just graduated while in prison, so they are still prisoners, majority of them. Some of them had to return to finish the program and do their intern, but most of them are still inmates at a prison in Lancaster, California, and they actually had to go through some things in order to get to the place of graduation. Now, I want to share this story with you. It is such an amazing story, and I do believe that all prisons need some type of educational program that gives prisoners something to look forward to when they re-enter society, which helps reduce recidivism. Now, most of you know that recidivism is where criminals reoffend and they return back to prison. And so in order to reduce recidivism, uh, we have to, in the prison system, our tax money needs to go to serve people for rehabilitation, right? To help people so that they don't reoffend. And it gives them something in prison that's positive, that's constructive, something to look forward to. Because if they've had a tumultuous childhood, they were born into conflict, the struggle continued, and they weren't guided in a positive direction during their struggle, and they were guided in a negative direction, uh, it's going to have impact on a lot of men that enter prison and, that make mistakes in life. And even at a young age, we see a lot of young men in prison besides older men, but we see a lot of young men, and some of them even have received life in prison. And there was one uh, graduate prisoner that graduated, and he stated that um, he would he has life in prison. Excuse me. He does have life in prison, but he says that he has spiritual freedom now. Because see, when you are mentally incarcerated, there is no freedom. And you don't really have to be behind prison walls to be feeling mentally incarcerated, meaning, mentally like you're a prisoner in your own mind, and and so for him to be spiritually free now, because now, even though he still has to serve, he says, life behind bars, he wakes up differently. He sleeps in the same bed, but he wakes up differently. So I want to share this positive story, and I hope that you will stop by, and listen to this video, and even go check out ABC News, the video. It's amazing. It brought tears to my eyes to see people that can change, and that help is there to help people change if they want the change. And so, it's a passion of mine to, to help, and to even help people that have made mistakes. And I always say that we are not a judge or jury, and we shouldn't be, and that no one can has a heaven or hell to put anyone in. And I'm always, uh, happy and relieved when people can turn their life around, and when you're helping people turn their life around, and whatever impact that you can make in helping people, whether it's praying for them on the street, and giving them a blanket and socks and shoes to put on and food to eat, things like that, or ministering to people and coaching them and encouraging them. It's always a good thing, and when people are bashing one another and saying that's what they get, and they can't do it, and they need to stay behind prison walls. I mean, there are some that probably can never be rehabilitated, and that's not something that we can do, but that's something that the person has to recognize, that they need to be delivered, and only God can do that. But when people really have a true desire to do better, it's okay to encourage them. It's okay to congratulate them. It's okay to speak positive things into the lives of other people and things like that. And so even though they may not look like what we think they should look like, because a lot of them got tattoos on their bodies and their faces. Some of them were gang members, some of them were addicts, did a lot of different things. But this is good news to see them turn their life around. And some of them, I think, have like 5 years left to go within their sentence. And so some of them have that are going to return back to help in the prison system. Some have actually gotten out of prison and have returned back to help in the prison, to help other inmates, to teach and coach, other inmates and encourage them. And a lot of the inmates also suffer from addictions, and addictions can start at a young age. And excuse me, so let me, excuse me, not, excuse me, I'm so sorry, prolong this video and just go ahead and get into the story. And so at this California prison, we are no longer prisoners, we are professionals. And that was a quote made by one of the prisoners. Now, before the graduates strolled into the strains of pomp and circumstances, their prison blues peeking out from under their gowns, Correctional Officer John Javert encouraged them not to rush. And there was actually, before I move on, there was actually a prisoner, 46 years of age. And the program was the Offender Mentor Certification Program, graduation ceremony at a California State Prison in Lancaster, which I've said that part about where the prison is in Lancaster, California. And they do have a prison. I don't know how many is out there, but I do know that they have a prison out there in Lancaster, California. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that with this being said, is that some of them have earned bachelor degrees, okay? And so anyway, remember, guys, you worked real hard for this, real hard. Janren reminded the incarcerated men as they lined up in a back room, reread their notes, fixed their bow ties, and adjusted the gold tassels bobbing from the mortarboards. The music began to play. Don't walk too fast, Janren told them as they began their procession. Let them see you. For more than a year and a half, these 20 men have been working for this, their graduation from training as alcohol and drug counselors. It was an accomplishment that could help them secure jobs both inside and outside the California prisons. It had also become a brotherhood they dubbed the Storming Cohort, scarred team of recovering men inspiring new generations. Beyond the razor-wired and high fences of the state prison in Lancaster, in a visiting room strewn with gold and black balloons and celebratory signs declaring on to the next chapter, the men walked in a procession before loved ones and state correctional officials to be recognized. Some said it was the first graduation they ever had. So see, some of them didn't even graduate from high school, and they were able to get their GED while they have been incarcerated. Now, stepping up to the lectern, graduate Ivan Steen said that this program was the most difficult and rewarding experience of my life. Myself, along with these other gentlemen in these fine caps and gowns, have embarked upon a 1.5-year journey of self-discovery, self-disclosure, self-examination, self-honesty, and self-healing in an effort to achieve the dual goal of becoming certified addiction treatment counselors and overall better human beings. Steen told the seated crowd. Each and every member of this cohort courageously opened up their heart and exposed raw their deepest secrets, hurts, fears, and shame. They had gotten lessons in neurobiology and pharmacology, ethics and the law, family dynamics, and relapse prevention. They had spent hundreds of hours being educated on addiction and counseling, preparing for a required exam. They would soon start putting in thousands of hours as interns, the final step that would ultimately lead to them gaining state-recognized certification as alcohol and drug counselors. Even getting into the program was an accomplishment, as it's reserved for people who have gone years without serious violations of prison rules, penned a 500-word essay on maintaining their recovery and helping others, obtained at least 2 references from prison staff, and gone through an interview process. The intense selective program is as demanding as a full-time job. Prison officials said, and a training program that usually lasts a year had been interrupted repeatedly as the Lancaster facility grappled with the coronavirus. Then there was the storming that this group had undergone together, the term for a tumultuous stage in team development that inspired the cohort name and ultimately forced them into a supportive fraternity. But the name had also come to stand metaphorically for the storms they wanted to pull themselves and others through. Today, we are no longer prisoners, Steen declared. We are professionals. His shoulders were draped with a graduation stole of canary yellow emblazoned on one side with the words Offender Mentor Certification Program. On the other, OMCP. It is a state program that has existed for more than a decade, beginning with an inaugural class at the state prison in Solano County, now chronicled in a documentary film. But this was the first class to graduate from the Los Angeles County facility and the first men to graduate from the program at a level 4 site, state officials said. Level 4 means we're in a high security restitution for those that are considered to be the most violent and dangerous men in prison. Diana Weston explained to the crowd that Tuesday. Weston is a director of criminal justice contracts for Options Recovery Services, which helped develop the program and now operates its 7 sites across the state. She went on to talk about the labels that could weigh the men down: criminal, addict, failure. Now, she said, these graduates had taken a chance and earned the right to be labeled something different. Substance use disorder counselor or professional healer. It was a new label they needed to carry forward, she said, because there are so many hurting individuals carrying those negative labels that need your help. If this is really truly about rehabilitation, we should be doing it for everybody, Weston said in a later interview, and that's what's happening. The men had borne a number from the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. They got a new one during this process, their registration number for certification as an alcohol and drug counselor, said Alvin Barksdale, director of the OMCP program in Lancaster. Richard Tier, who said he had been incarcerated since 2015, could already recite that number from memory. It was the first thing he had ever completed. He said, holding the crisp piece of paper that had been handed to him during the ceremony, along with a certificate of recognition from U.S. Representative Mike Garcia, and he's a representative out of Santa Clarita, California. Now, I never thought I could be he's a representative, a representative out of Santa Clarita, California, as I stated. And as I go on, I never thought I could be anything other than what I've been all my life, Tier said. Now, he said, he had gotten his GED and started picking up college credits in psychology, communications, and social science. His goal, once released, is to return to work again in the prison system, and this shows that there is an opportunity for us, that we're needed and wanted. It's funny that even though I'm in prison, he said, this is the happiest I've ever felt in my life. Drug overdoses claim thousands of lives annually in California, and the threat has not skipped over its prisons, where nearly 300 people have died of overdoses between 2012 and 2020, according to statewide reports. Prison officials have worked to bring down deaths through an initiative that offers substance use treatment, including medications to help people shake off addiction. There are so many people that are incarcerated in California that need help. We can't get to everybody. And then you step in, Brant Chody, director of the State Division of Rehabilitative Programs, told the men in their motorboards, and you're part of our answer. That's how special you are. The California program is set aside for people with more than 5 years left to serve on their prison sentences, and after finishing their training, many head on to other prisons to serve as paid mentors to people undergoing addiction treatment. Some were preparing themselves for the parole board or already eyeing a release date. A few members of the storming cohort had already been paroled and were working as interns to finish the hours needed for their certification as alcohol and drug counselors. More than a dozen people across the state have graduated from the program, been released, and gone on to work as contracted staff at California prisons. Others who have been paroled work at community programs providing addiction treatment. Among them is Jamal Johnson, now an internship supervisor with Options Recovery Services, who had worked at outpatient and residential recovery programs after being released from prison a decade ago. One of the first 50 graduates of the state program. He now works with the program at the Lancaster Prison. Without the program, I don't know where I would be, Johnson said. He had been arrested as a teenager, he said, having never had a job before. I grew up as an alcoholic, a drug dealer, and a gang member. Experiences that now help him build a therapeutic alliance with his clients, he said. They know that I empathize with their position that they're in, Johnson said, because I've been there. Al Sasser, another one of the first 50 graduates, credited the parallel process of working on the self and helping others. We have this saying, the more I work on me, the better everybody else gets, said Sasser, who is now working with a San Luis Obispo area prison. What sets the OMCP apart as a program in the prisons, he said, is that it enables you to see past the gates. Yet the program has also been life-changing for graduates who are unsure if they will ever use their skills on the outside. I used to hear people say they wake up in prison and they're not in prison, and I didn't get it, said Federico de la Cruz, 58, who has been in prison for decades on a life sentence. Now I do. I wake up. I'm in the same bed, same walls, he said, holding fast to his certificate after the ceremony. But it doesn't translate to me the same. I wake up different. I'm able to go out and be different. During the ceremony, De La Cruz recited a poem he had written. We are living proof that even those who are guilty of the most wrongful deeds can pluck from the flowers of love and hope and sow these very seeds, he read. His younger brother, Rudy, who has made the trip from Fontana, and Fontana is in California, for the ceremony, looked on beaming at De La Cruz in his black robe. Around them, other grinning families embraced their new graduates and settled in at tables to eat barbecue, baked beans, and cupcakes frosted in yellow and white. An instrumental cover of Lean on Me played in the background. I don't got that physical freedom, De La Cruz said, but I have that spiritual freedom right now. And so this is really important. And I think I said within 5 years, but they have a little more than 5 years to go. You know, the ones that just participated in the ceremony that graduated. And I think that's really good that they have been able to do that. And I wanted to go back to something earlier in the article, excuse me, in this article, because it's really actually an amazing thing, very positive for these inmates, you know. And one of the things that they had was a Tuxman stages of group development in this in the prison. And so it's called the forming, storming, norming, performing model of group development. Was first proposed by Bruce Tuckerman in 1965, who said that these phases are all necessary and inevitable in order for a team to grow, face up to challenges, tackle problems, find solutions, plan work, and deliver results. As Tuckman knew, these inevitable phases were critical to team growth and development. He hypothesized that along with these factors, that interpersonal relationships and task activity would enhance the four-stage model that is needed to successfully navigate and create an effective group function. And that was one of the things about then there was the storming that this group had undergone together to turn for a tumultuous stage in team development that inspired their cohort name and ultimately forged them into a supporter fraternity. And so that's important to know, you know, how they came about, and because of the four phases, excuse me, of a group. And I think that's important because you have many different people in a group, and there has to be, you know, guidelines, boundaries, and rules that are set forth in a group. And those rules have to be there, and people have to comply. The group members have to comply to those group rules and things like that. And you have to set a foundation when it comes down to being part of something that's going to help people grow, help people change. And, you know, there are going to be things that come out in a group that people will share, and what is shared in that group stays within that group because, you know, for privacy and confidentiality. And so that's very important as well, and building trust among group members so that they are able to succeed, meaning to heal and grow forward, and like I said, and to succeed. And so I think that's very important. And so again, I believe that this should be in every prison that can provide that, is to give them options, and it's up to them to want to change. And change doesn't happen overnight, but if you make up your mind to want to change and to do better, and you want to be able to live a different type of life when you get out of being incarcerated, out of prison, I think that's important. And this may not happen to everyone, but 20 men being able to do this, being able to get past their mistakes. And there, it does require healing. It does require self-examination and being honest with yourself and owning up to your past mistakes and failures, and being able to move forward. Those are important things. And I think it's important that, when we're talking about people being incarcerated and people given labels, and we see that so much with past convicts still being labeled that they will never amount to nothing, or they're going to reoffend again, and they're going to return, back to prison, they I don't trust them because they did these things. And if it's someone that harmed another family or took a family's loved one, that's going to be a stigma for them and things like that when they get out. And sometime when they go up before their parole hearing, a lot of times the families are notified. The offending families are notified, and they don't want them to ever get out, even if they've changed. And I always say there's reconciliation, and it has to happen. And if a person can, repent of their sins, ask for forgiveness, and have reconciliation, and show that they are doing it not just for themselves, because not just for other people, but showing yourself that you can do it and you can change and make a difference and an impact in society, because God does allow second chances, third chances, fourth chances, fifth chance. He allows chances over and over. God does give you a lot of chances. He gives you a chance to change. He gives you a chance to make it right. And so I thank God for all the chances that he's given me. I thank God for the chances that he's given others, because I'm not God, and so we know that we're not God. Some people try to act like they're God, and they're not willing to admit that they are not God. And I know I'm not. And I thank God for the small, the opportunities to make it right, because none of us are perfect. And although I've never, been incarcerated, committed any, violent acts or anything like that, all I'm saying is that even in our sinful nature, intentional and not intentional, knowing and unknowingly, God still gives us second chances and third and fourth and fifth. And we have to remember that. And God will give anyone another chance that's willing to do the work and willing to ask for that chance and ask God to help them in making the change and the transition of being a better person. God will do whatever you ask if it's aligned with his will, because remember, God is a good God. He wants good gifts for his children, and as long as it's aligned with his purpose, and so with these men, they had to change what they valued. That's another thing, is changing what they value. If at one point in their past they valued crime, they valued drugs, they valued committing, heinous crimes or murders, or they valued doing things that were wrong or theft, they valued a criminal mentality. They had to change to what they value now. They value living a good life. They value doing things right and decent and in order, not harming others, living right, being honest, value being, wanting to heal and self-examine and reflect. Those are important things, and having a change of heart, change of mindset, thought process, all of those things are very important. And so with that being said, you all, please leave your respectful comments below. Let me know what you think about this, and even let me know if you, one of your family members or loved ones might have been incarcerated, if you are in California or whatnot. But just let me know what you think, and I would love to hear your honest opinions. What, again, do you think about this? Because I think it is a great idea, and I am just so happy to hear this, that there are people that are willing to change their life over for the good, for the better, and to start to help other people. And what best way to do it is to give people the tools and the opportunity to do it, and experience can be your best teacher. And it's never too late to change. You may learn you may learn later after you get caught up, and you didn't learn sooner than later, but it's never too late to change. So God bless you all on today. Peace out. And again, leave your respectful comments below. Thumbs up the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber. And thank you again all to my new subscribers. God bless.